Stop here to show you a site which was recently opened and not very well known amongst tour guides. But it's nice to see. What we just said when we were at the excavations of the Knight's Halls, I said that the magnificent thing about Akko is that you walk on the streets and a meter below you, you can see 800 years back. It's quite amazing. And this is one of the places where you can see that. This is a late modern Ottoman Turkish building that looks top. But if you look down, you see the excavations where there's remains of an arch. Look at the arch with stone, rests, pool, like Crusader stones. It looks perhaps like a Rhodian to you, but it's not. It's Crusader, very small, yes. With a protruded bosses in the middle. A window that blocks it for some reason, we don't know why, and we believe that this is the main entrance to the neighborhood of Geneva. So it's really something that we see on maps, and certainly we find it in the actual excavations. So it's nice to see, and as I said, Geneva and Venice are neighbors. The border between the two is the street where the Megis, they named Market Street, and as we mentioned earlier, in the 1960s, there was an actual war between the two neighbors, the Venetians and the Genovese, that began here in Akko, but eventually engulfed the entire country until it subsided. Next to us is a city. If you're able to take a look at it, fine, if not, it's not that important. It's good to know that it's there. You don't need to go there because there's local guiding, and they do it quite well, so if you just bring a group, they'll be happy to host you. The synagogue is called Ramchal Synagogue. Ramchal, whom I mentioned earlier on the bus, Rabi Moshe is an acronym of Rabi Moshe Chaim Yitzchak. He was an Italian Jewish scholar at the beginning of the 18th century, and he was a Kabbalist, meaning he dealt extensively with Jewish mysticism. In the 1700s, to deal with Jewish mysticism wasn't a good idea, because a few decades earlier, a Jewish mystic from Turkey, whose name is Shabtai Tzvi, claimed that he is the Messiah, and thousands and thousands of people walked and believed in him and walked after him in the belief that he is going to redeem the Jewish people, that he is going to bring the end of history, the end of days. At the peak, Shabtai Tzvi decided to go to Turkey and convert the Sultan, the Muslim Sultan, to Judaism. So he went to the court and asked for an interview. He wasn't received by the Turkish Sultan, he was received by the Turkish Vizier, chief of the ministers. And the Vizier listened to him and he said, "What do you want?" And Shabtai Tzvi said, "I would like to convert your master, the Sultan. I'd like him to become a Jew." And the Vizier said, "I have a better idea. How about I cut off your head unless you become a Muslim?" And Shabtai Tzvi says, "Oh, what a wonderful idea." So he saves himself by converting to Islam. You'd expected Shabtai Tzvi, the minister, you can call him Eyal. So Shabtai Tzvi converted to Islam. You'd imagine that such a move would, of course, open the eyes of those who were following him, and they would realize that he is not the Messiah. Indeed, many sobered up and they realized he's not the Messiah. But there were many who kept on believing that he is the Messiah. They believed that this action of conversion was just an illusion. Basically, he did that not because he believes in Islam, but because this is the way to go to the depth of impurity and redeem the souls of the sinners and so on and so forth, which is an interesting interpretation. But eventually, Shabtai Tzvi died as a Muslim. So that was a failure, total failure, but regardless, there were still people believing in his messianism, believing that he is indeed the Messiah and that he never died. And they still exist today in Turkey. Some of them still exist in Turkey. Of course, they are reluctant. They're not happy to reveal the fact that they are believers of Shabtai Tzvi or that they were Jewish at some point. But in Turkey, in Istanbul, many people know who they are and how to identify them. A couple of years ago, a cookbook of the believers of Shabtai Tzvi was published in Israel in Hebrew, translated and published in Hebrew. But again, this is a kind of a secret in a way. They're not really keen on revealing their true identity. Some of the disciples of Shabtai Tzvi, who were stricken by the fact that he died as a Muslim, went to even darker paths. One of his believers, his name was Yaakov Frank, established a movement of Jewish believers in Shabtai Tzvi who believed that in order to bring the Messiah, you should either be totally just and pure or totally a sinner. So they chose that path, which is very convenient. So free sex for everyone. That was mainly what they did. Very typical of all kinds of sects even today. Beware if you see someone promoting these ideas, because that is probably the beginning of a sect, exactly as it happened. So these were the Frankists, those who followed Yaakov Frank, and they are no longer considered to be part of Judaism, of course. And they're not connected to this place. What I'm saying is that when in the 1700s, Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto אז אנחנו נסתכל על זה, זה ממש קצר ואני גומר. תודה רבה. So, as I said, it was a bad idea in the 1700s to be a Kabbalist, a mystic, because a couple of decades ago, people saw where it may lead us. And there was a fear that people dealing with Kabbalah, with Jewish mysticism, would eventually lead others, innocent Jews, to demise, as did Shabtai Tzvi. So when Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto started publishing books about Kabbalah, the rabbis did not accept that, and they ordered him to bury his books. Eventually, he fled from Padova, where he lived, to Amsterdam, where I visited a month ago, and from there he came to the land of Israel, to the Holy Land in 1742. This is where he, 1743, where he resided for a couple of years until he died in the plague. He perished with his entire family. Where was he buried? He was buried in Kfar Yassif, according to tradition. Why not in Akko? The reason is that there's a dispute in Jewish sources whether Akko is indeed part of the land of Israel, the biblical land of Israel. Where are its borders? Does it include Akko or not? As there was a dispute, he asked to be buried in a place where there's no dispute, Kfar Yassif. A couple of years ago, they used to show his burial place. Sometime later, his burial place moved a little bit to another location, and then to another location, and then to another location. To me, this is a direct proof to the tectonic plate theory. Just kidding, of course. What I mean to say is that this is just a tradition, and from time to time we tend to move the burial place from one place to another. The story, therefore, has something to do with Akko, and according to tradition, his synagogue is right outside here to the right, and today you can see the nice refurbished synagogue. The refurbishment took a couple of years ago, so it looks quite modern.